Israel is bracing for a disruption day. The protest movement against the government's judicial reform is set to conduct several civil disobedience acts across the country. Well, currently, the coalition government's bill, it is to remake the legal and judicial system. It's on hold right now. According to reports, the latest disruption is to keep the passion of the protests going as protesters seek to ramp up its anti-government demonstrations once again. The events reportedly will be based on the theme of equality. Media reports suggest protesters will block major highways and intersections around the country. Well, this includes the Ayalon highway that runs through Tel Aviv. Earlier, this kind of disruption days, they've led to clashes between protesters and police. Israeli police also made multiple arrests. Well, several key political leaders were also arrested. Opposition leaders insist that renewed civil disobedience is necessary after Israeli Justice Minister Yariv Levin's comments, where he says the coalition government intends to pass its reforms one way or another. Well, let's get more from our correspondent who's there for us in Tel Aviv, David Cohen. So let's just reiterate some of the facts for you just now. So it has really come to this situation, and it's called a disruption day. Now, last time there was disruption in the country, they lasted for days, these so-called disruption days, and they led to clashes between protesters and police. And during those days, we know that multiple arrests were made. And what's important to register is that some of these were key political leaders. They've been arrested during these days. Now, opposition leaders, though, they're saying that the civil disobedience, they're saying that it is absolutely necessary. And this is after the Israeli Justice Minister, his comments. Now, again, let's maybe just rewind and take you through what's happened so far. So currently, the coalition government's bill is to remake the legal and judicial system. That's on hold right now, and that's why we could potentially get more disruption. Well, the protest movement against the government's judicial reform is set to conduct several civil disobedience acts, and this is across the country because the bill is on hold. Now, according to reports, the latest disruption is to keep the passion of the protests going, as protesters are seeking to ramp up their anti-government demonstrations once again. Well, the event reportedly will be based on the theme of equality. Now, media reports suggest that protesters will block major highways and intersections around the country. So we could have a lot of disruption today. And we know last time the Israeli police made multiple arrests during these days. And importantly, several key political leaders were arrested as well. Now, this is all to do with reform, judicial reform, and that's exactly why we're seeing such disruption. Now, opposition leaders insist that renewed civil disobedience, they're saying it is necessary after Israeli Justice Minister Yariv Levin's comments, where he says that the coalition government intends to pass its reforms one way or another. Now, we are following the situation live for you in Tel Aviv, and we will be watching to see if there is any renewed pressure going on. As I was saying earlier, this is all in preparation for what they call a so-called disruption day. Now, this is all to do with the protest movement against the government's judicial reforms. Now, they are planning to conduct several of these disobedience acts, and they will take place across the country. Now, at present, this is the situation that's going on. The coalition government's bill is to remake the legal and judicial system. Now, that is currently on hold. Now, according to reports, the latest disruption is to keep the passion of the protests going. So they don't want to lose that momentum that they've seen. And this is as protesters are seeking to ramp up their anti-government demonstrations once again. Now, the events that will be taking place, they are all centered around the theme of equality. Now, media reports suggest that protests will block major highways and intersections as well for ultimate disruption throughout the whole of the country to make their point and make their stand. Now, this will include the major highway going through Tel Aviv as well. We are joined now by our correspondent. We do have Jodie Cohen joining us from Tel Aviv. Thank you so much indeed, Jodie. I know you've been covering this intensely throughout the last weeks. Can you tell us about the latest from the protests and what exactly is going on in the country? Okay, apologies. We're having some technical issues today. We will get back to Jodie Cohen there in Tel Aviv later for you in the program.